Hi, I'm Rich from Trapping Inc. TV. If you're a fan of the show, you know how much we count on our Argos in order to not only film the show, but to run our trap on and get our trapping done. This unit here is the first year that they have brought back the brands of Conquest and Avenger in the Argo line. Those nameplates were around years ago, and they had such a great connotation and history with them that they wanted to bring them back. And I'll talk a little bit more later about the difference between the Conquest and the Avenger lines. I want to say that what I've got here is a Conquest 8x8 XTi, and this one literally did a trial by fire. I picked it up, I drove it to the trap line, and it has been in service for several months. I've been getting a lot of requests to have done a review like I did last year with the XTi Outfitter, and I finally got time. I just haven't had time. It's been a heck of a shooting schedule. The Conquest comes in different models, and so does the Avenger. There's different models within the Avenger. Within the Conquest line, you have the very basic 8x8i. This is a little bit above that. It's the XTi, the Conquest 8x8 XTi, which means that it comes with the winch and bumper, and it's a receiver winch that can be moved to the back, and a couple other features. What I've added to this one is I added the windshield, the top, the tracks, and these combination catwalk mud flaps. Now these catwalk mud flaps are the first year that I've used them, and they are remarkable. I am so impressed with them. They're meant to take a big guy like me, and you can get up here, you can walk around. Gives you a lot of advantage being able to look out across the terrain ahead of you. Lots of times if you drop through the ice or whatever, you can get up here and you can make the jump or whatever you have to do. It's remarkable. The best part that I like about them is the fact that they are so wide. They come out wide enough that they cover off the track. We no longer have any mud splashing up or anything like that. A really, really solid accessory, and I'm impressed with them. Other models within the Conquest line are the Outfitter that we had last year, and I showed you, and it's designed to haul up to 6 people comfortably with the seats in the back. In addition, there's an Explorer XTi, and it has a half ROPS and windshield, and it comes with a power dump box. Pretty handy. The final unit within the XTi line is the Lineman, and it is a highly specialized unit. It's designed for getting guys and gear into those places that you just can't get another vehicle in there. It allows you to get the job done when nothing else will work. There are 2 questions that I get asked most frequently. The first is, why an Argo? And the second is, which Argo? Why an Argo? Well, it depends. The 4-season versatility just can't be matched. The fact that you have one machine that can take you right from January right back around to January again. The fact that whether it's snowing or sleeting or rain or mud or muskeg or swamp or anything else, the Argo can do it. You don't have to have a boat, you don't have to have a snowmobile, you don't have to have a quad or a side-by-side. You can do it all with one machine. So that 4-season versatility is really hard to defeat, and nothing else can do what the Argo does there. You can use it as a boat and go fishing. I've done it many times. With the tracks off, just using the tires, you can do 5 kilometers an hour in the water. That's awful good speed. You can also put an outboard on the back and go fishing that way. Anybody who's been in the outdoors is very aware of the kind of conditions that we face out there, where what seems like insignificant to most people, a little sprinkle of rain, or a day where it snows all day long, but nothing accumulates. People who are driving back and forth to the office think there's nothing bad about that. You have that stuff landing on the leaves of out in the bush and that, and you're driving constantly through it with a machine. When you're not protected by a windshield and a top, in this case a heater because Sandy's there, when you don't have that protection of the top and the windshield, those days are miserable. You're wet, you're soaked to the skin, to the bone, and I mean, it is dangerous to a point. I mean, there's such a thing as hypothermia. So The fact that this protects you from so many elements and yet goes anywhere is just a feature that is so far head and shoulders above anything else another unit can do. One of the things that's really important to us, especially to Sandy and I, because we're out in the bush by ourselves and we're in the wintertime, I know that it's not as wild a west as it used to be, but all the same, if you fall through the ice, you get wet, you can die of hypothermia. You can, it's still pretty easy to die in the north on a trap line. And with the Argo, especially when I'm doing muskrat, beaver, or ice fishing or whatever, if I fall through the ice, it's no big deal. I won't deny that a lot of air gets sucked up for a minute or two, because it's always a shock when the ice gives out underneath you. But with the Argo, all I am is a cork. I sit there and I float. I don't have to worry about sinking. I don't have to get in a panic. Everybody can sit there, let their heartbeat get back to normal, take a look around, and then figure out how you're going to get out if it won't drive out. You know, sometimes you're in a situation that won't drive out. It takes a little bit more effort. But you have that safety. You know, it's not like a vehicle, another vehicle falling through. Of course, the Argo is probably more a work tool than a toy, especially in the Conquest line. It is the tool that you count on to get your job done all the time. It's got a large box in the back for hauls a big payload. It can pull a giant payload. It can haul that payload while floating. You know, you've got so much versatility there. There's just there's not a job that the Argo can't meet. I spoke earlier how Argo had brought back Conquest and Avenger nameplates. And what they are actually now are lines within the Argo structure. And what that means is that there is a Conquest line, there's an Avenger line. And because you can get them in green, or you can get them in camel, or you get units that look very, very similar to one another, but one's an Avenger and the other's a Conquest. And people say, okay, what's the difference? Which one should I be getting? Well, it's like this. Are you a half-ton guy or a one-ton guy? I can't make it any simpler. If you want to be, you want a little bit more speed, you want a softer ride with those 2-pound beadlock tires, or you know, if you're very seldom going to run tracks, you're going to be mostly running on tires and you know, do a lot more amphibious stuff, then the Avenger is the line for you. If you're going to run, and the biggest break for me is right here, is the reason I run the Conquest is because I run tracks year-round, okay? Tracks are an immense amount of work for a machine, and you can run tracks on an Avenger, and you're mostly going to run it in the wintertime, and then that's when it's the least amount of work, okay? When it's the big work is when you're in the muskeg, or you're in that tall grass in the tamarack muskegs, turning in those, that stress on the tracks and the driveline is huge. And that's where the Conquest shines, okay? Running tracks in the snow in the wintertime, either unit does that really good. In fact, the Avenger LX, the light speed, probably does it the best. A little bit more speed, you get going, and nice ride. So this is where it breaks down for me. Half-ton, one-ton. And if you're a one-ton kind of guy, there's the features that are going to be important. The fact that we're putting these tracks on, all 4 of our axles are reinforced. They have exterior reinforcing on them, okay? Take all that strain of running tracks all the time. That's important. Those axles are 1.5 inches, okay? They're 1.5 inch axle, and they are supported by roller taper bearings that are adjustable and run in an oil bath, okay? They have, on those axles for driving the chains, we have a special steel used for our drive sprockets. And because those sprockets are hard, they allow us to use a harder chain. Now that chain, because it's harder, it doesn't stretch as much, it doesn't wear as fast. We're talking about maintenance intervals here on this machine of 200 hours. Other things that are different is the fact that you have an actual steel frame where the 2 bodies come together. You have a steel frame on the Conquest, and on the Avenger it's the 2 plastic bodies just come together and have a rubber rail around it. Because on the Conquest we need to hard point mount stuff, things like like the full ROP system, the full rollover protection structure, or the half ROPs, we need to have that steel frame to bolt down to. That's really important. The other thing is down below we have a large boxed frame that holds all of those big axles and everything in alignment. You know, this is meant heavy duty and it's meant to work. So when you're looking at the units, you got to know what exactly your need is. You know, both units come with the Admiral Transmission, which has both high and low gear, and the difference between high and low gear is in high gear, your outside turns faster than your inside. You don't ever skid steer, so when you're doing those little course corrections going down the trail now, it's very smooth. It's like driving a quad or whatever. So the Admiral Transmission is in both the Avenger and the Conquest line, and that's a very important feature. When you go into low gear, you use that in water and in snow, and it is skid steer. You actually lock up the one side as you turn. You very quickly, once you get used to driving the Admiral Transmission in high gear, you're glad that you very seldom ever have to shift out of it, because you do not miss doing that skid steer stuff, I can tell you that. Other considerations between the two units are size and weight. The Conquest weighs 340 pounds more than the Avenger, depending on the model, and is 5 inches wider on the outside measurements and about 4 inches longer on the outside measurements. So if size is a consideration, that's something to think about. So as the bard said, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Even though it's got a new name on it, the XTi is all the unit that I've come to expect. It has now been through a season of trapping. It has been absolutely flawless. I never once ever worry about my machine not starting, not running, not doing what I want. And when you're out there by yourself in the dark, in the cold, in the middle of nowhere, you're a long ways away from any kind of help, you just cannot state how important that confidence is. Check them out at your nearest retailer.